Yes. I got absolutely spacko on Friday.
Oh, you had your work party, right?
The party.
Oh, man.
Was this stay in bed, don't talk to me all day Saturday?
I went to my niece's party and I spoke to no one. I just fell asleep on the couch.
It's drunk Uncle Vince.
Minisode.
Watch out! Here it comes. Watch out! Here it comes. Watch out! Here it comes.
I feel like a lot of players got let off the hook. While we had a week off. Dwight Howard definitely got let off the hook.
I don't even want to touch that one.
No, I think he's a bit butthurt. So.
Oh. Jesus.
I don't want. No, I'm not speaking about it. No.
Well, I actually feel bad jumping in on it. I actually think it's getting to the point of like cyberbullying. Like, in all seriousness, like this person in this story has been completely proven to be false and absolute bullshit. But it's got legs to the point where, man, the guy's he's going to cop it now forever.
Has that been proven to be crap? Has it?
Yeah, massively. Yeah.
Is it really?
Okay. Because I just
the person's tried it on about 3 different people, like 2 different rappers and one other sports person in a minor NFL league. Like, apparently, it's just absolute bullshit. The guy's just delusional.
Well, I was just about to say, as far as Dwight goes, I mean, I can remember quite a few years ago when Dwight was sort of at his peak in Orlando. And I remember saying on the show that I thought he would go down as like one of the best centers we'd seen. But I've never seen a player in their career go down the gurgler so quick, or at least the reputation go down the gurgler so quick without a major injury. Like, it's actually phenomenal. Like, and pretty sad, I reckon.
Yeah, well, he's got a major injury now, doesn't he? He's got some sort of buttock nerve injury, doesn't he?
He does. We're still not going there? Sorry.
I think there's a difference between gluteal and anal. Let's be very clear.
You got the bottom.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, enough about this Christmas party.
Oh, Jesus. Look, I went straight home. I got 2 cheeseburgers on the way home. And that's it.
Thank you for being here tonight, Stu. Amazing.
I didn't want to swear in the podcast anymore.
How's that working out for you?
I'm baiting you.
The only way I can respond to that, Benson, is go fuck yourself.
I feel that's warranted.
Well, that's only one for the night, so you've improved.
Yeah,
you're doing all right.
You've improved.
But again, I can't spread this podcast around work because I've sworn on it. Anyway.
Hey, I also found it pretty amusing this week that the Houston Rockets, who are... I mean, does it get to the point where you just go, they should never have traded Trevor Ariza? Like, I mean, they've still got CP3. They've still got Harden. I mean, no one's playing D. And then they let Melo go. We spoke about that. That's fine. Like, we all feel that he's not done and dusted like many other sites out there. But I was reading today that the Houston Rockets are interested in a trade with Cleveland for J.R. Smith.
Christ. Okay, so it's official. They want Zion.
Oh, do they ever? Man, I mean,
wow.
They are 11-4. They are 14th in the Western Conference right now.
11-4?
Oh, sorry. 11-14. 11-14.
Remember, I probably said this when he was in New York, Phoenix. I don't know, Mike D'Antoni. Remember I said to you, Wayne, back then, he will never ever win a championship.
Yeah.
when a team's going to realise that this guy is just a terrible coach? When this could not happen to a nicer person. He's a dick. And once again, he's hey, don't worry about the defense, guys. We'll just outscore everyone. Well, it never works. He has a few good seasons. It gets me so angry. I can't even speak. Like I just want to choke him. I want to. Again, like I said a couple of weeks ago, he does not. You have to adjust to him. He doesn't adjust to his players. And clearly, Mello wasn't the issue. No, I mean they're still losing.
Of course not. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think the thing to this as well. I mean, like, yes, there is still enough time to turn this around. You know, still fairly early in the season. But the thing is, you know, we've spoke countlessly about the key to the success for the Houston Rockets. Pretty much relies on the shoulders of Chris Paul staying healthy. You add another year to him now. I mean, I got a feeling like I feel like his body's. Well, we've talked about his body breaking down on him, right?
Oh yeah, come playoff time, he'll do something.
If they have to turn this around, the wear and tear, like they literally, I feel like they have to make a trade to try and dig themselves out. Because the sad thing to all this is, and I know we all had them down as playoff bound, the rest of the league's gotten better.
Yeah.
So why D'Antoni's not preaching defense and he's only on the offense? Like all those teams that got better from last year, I'm talking about Dallas. I'm talking about the Grizzlies. I'm talking about the Clippers.
Keep going.
I'm talking about the Pelicans. I'm talking about the Sacramento Kings. I'm talking about the Lakers.
You got there. Finally.
That's 8 teams that have gotten significantly better than what they were last year, and the Houston Rockets have not done so.
No, they are going to struggle to claw back into an 8th seed the way that they're going. They cannot stop anyone. It's ridiculous. There's too much matadoring at the top of the key, letting everybody come into Capella that he's in foul trouble almost every single game.
Yeah.
They sub him out and put in Nene, and you know what you're getting from him. I mean, the guy's 80. It's just, and they were just the sum of their parts last season. They obviously rode an MVP in James Harden, and in all fairness, he is still playing phenomenal basketball, almost to the point where he's kind of underrated at the moment. There's so many different narratives in the NBA. I don't think anybody's focusing on Harden's stats. I mean, defensively they're woeful, but his offensive stats are crazy. But that's it. That's all they have. Without Ryan Anderson, without Trevor Ariza, and just without the gelling that they had last season, it's bad basketball to watch. I've watched a shit ton of Rockets games, and it is crap basketball.
Was it the last game they lost? I can't remember. Jesus.
Who got them the other night at home?
Wasn't it Utah?
Was it Utah? Man, Utah just had their fucking number. They really do.
I've got a feeling it was Utah, but
yeah, it was Utah. Yeah, it was.
Utah just, you know what? Since the playoffs, that playoff run was last year or the year before. Last year. I feel like they've just figured them out.
Yeah, look, I'll tell you. We might talk about it later on, but speaking of Utah, man, Donovan Mitchell's hit the rookie, like the second-year wall, big time.
Yeah, look,
something's in his head. Something's in his head. You can see it when he's playing. Like, it's not instinct and just raw anymore. He's thinking about stuff, and it's honestly, it's like watching a different player. I know he's in there. He's going to be fine. He'll work through it. He's super talented kid. But
I mean,
something's going on.
There's no easy cakewalk to the Hall of Fame. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no, like, all players go through this. Like, he had a phenomenal rookie season, like an amazing rookie season. And I kind of feel like Luka is in danger of it happening this year as well. Like, he's going to have a great...
No, don't you dare.
Oh, I'm sorry, but, like, he's going to hit a wall eventually. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's, whether he does what Donovan did this year or, it hits him. But they're going to figure it out.
Unless he hit his when he was 12 years old in his 8th professional season.
I think a little bit with the Jazz, though, is I think defensively they've got to figure it out a bit. I mean, I liked the move they made to bring back Korver. I thought that was pretty cool because although we kind of seen a little bit of sparks from Alec Burks, it was kind of like, well, so we should. He's like a 10-year vet now. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, way to leave it to the last minute. But I think Gobert needs to work it out. You know, we obviously saw a few issues and him get bounced from a game, 3 minutes in? I think, it was that Houston game. That was that Houston game. Yeah. So he's obviously having troubles working out the officials and way to play this season. I don't know if that has anything to do with the rule changes, but I mean, I just have total faith in Snyder that he'll get his squad in the right direction.
No doubt. They'll come good. They are too good, numbers 1 through 9 on their roster to not come good. They're going to be fine.
And it's like they go on a 3-game win streak and they're back to 7th, 6th seed. Do you know what I mean? That's like...
Yeah. We're not talking Lakers basketball, but they're okay.
But Houston, man, just back to them, just shambles.
Yep.
I'd like to see him trade for someone. Well, I wouldn't because that'd mean D'Antoni wins that winning. But if Daryl Morey's smart, go out and find a couple of guys going to do the dirty work, small forward and power forward. James Harden, MVP last year. How about you play at both ends, mate? Like, be a leader.
It's not going to happen.
A leader.
Look, who's the head of the snake, Vince? Do you think Mike's going to turn around to James and go, you know what, James? I think this half of the season we play some D.
No, but James Harden shouldn't have to wait for D'Antoni to tell him that. He's the leader of the ball club.
I agree with that. I think some people should, it's almost like a pride thing. Wouldn't you want to take it on yourself and just get rid of that knock on your game? Like, you're an all-time offensive player. Like, his range at his size, he is literally all-time when it comes to point production. I would just, like Jordan, wanted to become a defensive player of the year. Kobe wanted to become known as a defensive stopper. I just wish that he had that switch, and he doesn't.
You're right, have some pride. And he's just lazy. He's lazy on that side of the basketball. And look, far be it from me to tell someone he's not ripped, but he's not. He's in good nick, but he's not in like LeBron nick or Kobe nick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's just lazy on the defensive side. And as a leader, he's got to step it up without Coach Peanut telling him to.
He doesn't want it, man. That's all it comes down to.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Looking like he wants to be the next Melo. Well, look, we should get into this because I'm pretty keen to hear what you guys say about it. I get a feeling Stu's got a bit of a different vibe on it to us, but let's jump into the mess that is the Chicago Bulls right now. Obviously, they fire Fred Hoiberg. And
what are you doing?
Hoiberg, sorry.
It's the only reason he writes down talk about Bulls every week on his
Yes.
And
every other week you've made me edit it out, and this week we finally get to talk about some substance with them. So, Hoiberg goes out and they bring in Jim Boylan. Man, some interesting first impressions. Look, 3 games in, and the players aren't happy. Whoever watched the Boston Massacre the other night, I mean, I can totally understand hard love, old school coaching, and I kind of really dig that in essence, but I feel like he's going about it the wrong way.
I mean, he doesn't have a great roster, let's be honest. I mean, at the moment they're starting Cameron Payne at point guard. That's fucking embarrassing.
Well, they've had guys out as well. So Portis has been out, and oh my god, and Dunn's been out.
I think Wendell Carter Jr. has been injured as well.
But he's played pretty well. He played awesome in that OKC game.
He's a star. Look, I don't know what people are expecting from this roster. I don't know what the loggerhead was that caused them to send out text messages to boycott practice. I don't know what that's about, but I don't know. I just think you got on talent equals output, and output's going to equal, your record. And, they haven't had a full-strength squad pretty much for any game this season. They're young. They've got new parts. They're trying to work Levine back in. They've got, they've got to find minutes for Wendell Carter. They've got Jabari Parker new to the system. I don't know what the expectation is. I think they're going okay. I don't think they should be spanked by 50 points in a professional basketball game. But that aside, I don't know what people expect from them.
Well, look, I think a lot of the kickback has been against the Bulls roster and the players themselves. How can you boycott? How can you boycott practice when you get pumped by 50 plus? And which, as a blank statement, is a very fair call. This is the NBA. This is not a rec league team. There are plenty of talented guys on this squad as well. But in saying that, there's obviously a lot more that goes to that. I mean, look, Boston are a great team. We've had them picked top of the East, I think, in our pre-game shows. And although they've struggled a little bit, they've certainly found their feet of recent. So they're a good team. Like, they're a better than average team. And they jumped out to a 13-point lead. Boylan pulls all the starters off.
Yeah.
Fair to some extent, and he sits them. I mean, I can almost understand that if you're going to do that, for the first quarter. Let them sit out, let your second string guys come in. No, that wasn't enough. He ran with the third string guys because he wasn't getting what he wanted out of the second string guys. And then you sit the starters again extensively through the second half. I mean, there's one thing to put on the players, but then there's another thing to be making shitty fucking coaching calls because you're not going to beat the Boston Celtics with a third or second string squad. I mean, it's just as simple as that. I mean, we can say that this Chicago squad doesn't have a rightful superstar that can carry the load, but I mean, fuck, you got to give these young guys a chance as well.
I don't mind him benching the starters if it's because he turns around to them and says, you guys aren't playing hard.
Yeah.
You guys aren't getting back. I have no issue with that at all. Secondly, I had no idea who this Jim Boylan is. Where did he come from?
So he was an assistant coach. He hasn't had a head coach gig before. I think he was assistant at one stage to Popovich in the Spurs. But
apparently they used him. He was always the bad cop to the coaches. Good cop, I was reading today. So he has a naturally sort of a terse, abrasive nature. And just looking at him, he looks like a bit of an angry dude.
He is total walked into this situation like a total drill sergeant. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the problem. And that's what he won't last as a coach because he can't handle people. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the nuts and bolts of this. I mean, if you're 3 games in, look, that last one was bad, but you knocked off OKC the game before that in a hell of a game. I mean, but if you've done that and you're still losing your players, I mean, the Indiana game, he pulled them aside, straight after the game and made them watch tape. Straight after the game. You can't be doing, imagine the emotions running through the players after coming off a loss in Indiana and having to try and sit down and focus and watch tape.
Well, I just think he's very disappointed in the output of his starters, and he obviously knows that they are better than what they are doing. And they are. I mean, if you're starting, Zach LaVine, Jabari Parker, when he's back, you'll have Chris Dunn. Markkanen. These guys should be able to. Look at what Brooklyn's doing. Look at what Phoenix can do on a given night. And then they're not getting it over the line winning, but they are competing in a lot of games. And he must fairly look at this roster and go, fuck, guys, come on. You are better than this. So I understand the benching and maybe showing them tape and showing them their defensive lapses and the reason behind the benching. Maybe there's a method to it, but he's not going to win any friends.
No, and you can't, having a 2.5 hour practice after back-to-backs. You got to that's just bad coaching. You got to let the players rest. They're young guys. Do you know what I mean? I know they're young guys and we all go, oh, they should run forever, but they're playing NBA ball. Do you know what I mean? You'd be fucking gassed. That's it's just retarded and just, I don't know. It feels very bully coaching to me. And I just don't think that's going to win in today's NBA. I can't see this guy lasting out. Even though Paxson's come out and said he's committed with Boylan through to even next year, man, you watch how many players want out of Dodge.
I've got no problem with him going over film straight after the game.
straight after the game?
I've got no problem. You know why I've got no problem? Because there are plenty of professional sports around the world that when they finish, they go into a room and they talk about the game and they could have done better.
Wouldn't you rather that the next day, though, Vince? Wouldn't you rather that the next day after, players have gone home, thought about it, obviously showered and come back with a clear head? You're not going to think straight after running a fucking marathon.
Plenty. I'll tell you one league that does it right here in Australia, the AFL. They finish, they have a quick warm down, they go into a room out in the back, and they go over the game. The coach tells them what he was happy with, what he wasn't happy with, and they go home, shower up, go home. The next day they go back to the club and do a massive film session. You know what? I think the players are just a bit soft on this occasion. I don't agree with the 2-hour practices, like before the game and after the game, whenever he was bloody doing it. But I got no problem with the other part.
I know we're talking about a young squad, man, but I think if this was happening any other team with vets, I think we'd be having the same kickback as well.
Yeah, I don't like the big practices, whatever he did. What'd you say? It was a 2-hour practice after the game or
2.5.
The game, or?
2.5.
Yeah, I don't like that. But the game film and talking about the game afterwards, I've got no problem with that. This guy, though, clearly belongs in the 80s NBA.
Yes, thank you.
Or college, where they can yell and scream a bit more. Yeah, look, he won't be coaching the Bulls next year. And if I was John Paxson, look, you know my record with hiring coaches, Steve Kerr, Mark Jackson.
Sure.
Self-proclaimed. Who are you going for?
I think John Paxson, I've always thought he'd make a good coach. I think he should just bite the bullet. He's a terrible GM, so...
horrible.
Just, bite the bullet and coach. I think he'd make a very good coach. But, yeah, this guy, he's about 20, 30 years too late.
Well, Paxson won't do that because he knows if he can't have success coaching, that's his job gone.
Yeah, but like Ben said, there's enough talent on this team. Like, to get Chris Dunn back, Markkanen's back, look, Parker, Lopez...
here's my other thing to this. Sorry, I'm going to jump in on you. Here's my other thing to this.
Yeah. What's going?
He's not walking to the job brand new. He's moved the seat across. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's seen everything that's gone on this year. He's their assistant coach under Hoiberg. So, like, Stu, you mentioned about, he should definitely maybe getting more out of these players, but he also knows that they've had injuries. He knows all this inside info. Like,
maybe Hoiberg was really soft with them.
Maybe.
Oh, light practice today, boys. Light practice. Oh, no, go get a massage and a wristy.
A wristy.
Like,
whoa! Whoa! Primary school teachers.
Whoa!
Oh, Jesus, Benson. No, look, I think Hoiberg. He might look. We don't know, but I suspect Hoiberg might have been a bit soft on these guys.
Well, I've said forever that I thought Hoiberg was a college coach. I don't think he was an NBA coach. I just think this guy. Look, first impressions are a big thing in the league, and I think this guy shot himself in the foot by trying to be Sergent Payne from day one.
So it's Major Payne.
Major Payne, Sergeant Payne. Yeah, close enough. I'll take it.
Would you call it in Chicago? Would you call it a debacle?
A debacle? A debacle? I don't know.
Oh, we have spoken way too long about the Bulls.
I know. Well, look, another.
But before you crap on about something else, let me crap on about something.
Sure, crap away.
You know how you always say Lonzo Ball's going to get traded?
Yeah.
I can guarantee 150%.
Oh.
Lonzo Ball will not be traded.
Really? Ever?
Yep. While LeBron James is there, Lonzo Ball will not be traded.
Wow. What gives you the confidence?
Yeah. We're super friends.
Thank you, Benson. This is why I recruited Benson.
They got a LA purple circle jerk going on over there, do they?
No. Listen, mate. Shut up for a moment. He and Lonzo are besties. LeBron loves playing with Lonzo. Loves it.
That's not true, man.
No, it is true. You need to watch the Lakers games.
It is. They're going on a banana boat this summer.
Oh, my
He
God.
loves Lonzo. You know what the best part is? Lonzo runs the floor. Like, there's a lot of things. Not a lot. There's a couple of things I don't like when I watch the Lakers, which we'll save for another day.
Like
But one thing I do like...
fast break behind the back throws to no one. That was good today.
Oh, come on. Let's do that like once a month.
Always
don't worry, I've got
airball
my
layups.
segment. I've got my Marshall book segment coming up later.
Fuck, that'll be interesting.
Lonzo Ball runs the floor and finishes for him.
Uh-huh.
He loves playing with him. He's not going anywhere.
I'm glad we got this on tape, actually. I'm gonna play this back when the trade goes down for you.
That's how bloody primitive your recording equipment is. It's on tape.
It's on tape. Oh, man. Yeah, he's gone. He's gone, buddy. Sorry.
Okay. Yep.
Not a chance.
I could actually probably see him.
You know who's in trouble?
Bolton.
And I think we play a little better without him,
Luke
which
Walton.
is, hate to say it, but BI might be in a bit of trouble.
He's injured right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, Coos is making him look pretty expendable.
Yeah, I think BI might be in a bit of trouble.
I've heard a lot of things going around with LA. Obviously, we had the Beal rumours not so long ago. I feel like that's quieting down.
That's never happening.
Well, I've heard the John Wall thing go around as well. And then, of course, recently we've heard the and the Anthony Davis. I mean, you guys are just getting everyone. So, but the recent one that stood out was the Ariza deal.
Oh, just how many times? Oh, that just gets me.
I know, buddy.
Yep.
He should never have left.
No, never.
The greener pastures in Houston, remember?
No, he didn't. He just fit. He should never have left. He just fit at the Lakers.
He did.
Yep.
You know, like Delhi at the Cavs. They just fit.
What a weird fucking trade that was. Am I right or am I right? Jesus, that makes no sense, that trade, other than I don't even know what even. Like, even just as maybe a pat on the back to fans. Like, here we go. We brought back one of the OGs. Like,
it's a shit go for minutes wise for George Hill.
yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, he's gonna be behind Bledsoe and behind Brogdon, and they're both getting like the lion's share of the guards minutes, which is why, of course, there was nothing for Delhi, and now there's nothing for Hill, and Hill's been getting decent burn over in Cleveland. He's going to be spewing.
But, I mean, I could feel like Hill's kind of at the tail end of his career anyway. Like, I don't feel he's... Like, I feel like third string's about right,
Well, he was giving them good minutes. He was giving...
Because it's Cleveland, they got no one
the
else.
Kings good minutes.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel bad. It was John Henson got moved as well.
Yeah, but he's fucking just always injured.
Yeah, and Decker went to the Wizards.
I'm just glad the Kings back in Cleveland. he went for 11 points in his debut. I mean,
Off the
welcome
bench.
home.
Not bad, yeah.
Witness.
Put the banners up.
He can start up his coffee business again. He had a coffee bean business. I don't know. Carry on.
Did he?
Yeah, it was Delhi's coffee or some crap.
What a genius name.
Delhi's shitty Macca's coffee.
I don't know. But, yeah, he did. When they won the championship, yeah.
Well, look,
I don't know.
Look, let's jump into something else. Embiid's recent comments. I think they sat him against Detroit recently, and he expressed his frustration to how he's been utilised by Coach Brett Brown. Look, I listened to it. I didn't take it as a dig towards Jimmy Butler. I'm sure Vince was jumping at the bit to point the fingers at Jimmy, but look, I think it does allude to that situation. Look, Philly have been playing pretty well since the move anyway. Butler's been huge for them. I think he actually sat out that game, maybe hip injury or something, hip soreness, something like that. And Embiid's feeling like he's being used as a bit more of a spacer and has expressed some displeasure, we'll put it that way. Some thoughts.
Suki la la. This just reeks of immaturity and gives me the shits because
Says the guy who just said Suki Suki Lala.
I could have said a lot worse. Oh God, I can't even speak. Could have said a lot worse. You're winning. B, Brett Brown is a very, very good coach. C, why come out to the media? Just go. What happened to the days where knock on the coach's door and say, "Hey, coach, I need to talk. Let's work this out." You look like a peanut coming out in the media. The media's going to run with this all the time. The minute every time he has a bad game, Embiid's unhappy, he's unhappy. It won't end well. They never end well when these things come out. And I just don't want that to happen to Philly because they went through so much crap, and I don't want it to happen to Brett Brown because I really like him. It's just wrong to come out in the media. I'm sick of players doing it. And just go and talk to the coach.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's having a bad season since Jimmy got there. And believe me, I do not like Jimmy Butler, but he's playing well. He's still the number one guy.
Yeah.
Well, number two. I mean, gee whiz.
No, he's the number one guy. Honestly,
there you go.
You've almost echoed exactly what I would say. Going to the media is it's just unnecessary layering of shit on a situation that you could just work out behind the doors.
Yep.
B, they are winning. If you're about winning, then that's what you're about. And how you get there and how it happens should be irrelevant if you are really about winning. And the fact that he's complaining about this means that Joel's more worried about Joel's stats and Joel's output and Joel's minutes and his touching. And I'm not a fan of that shit. I think that they're winning and they're integrating Butler pretty friggin' good for someone who they've just picked up. I just reckon it's bullshit. And
sorry, go on.
No, I was just about to say the one thing that's come out of this though in the last couple of days is a horde of articles about how Brett Brown's the problem, and Brett Brown doesn't fit in with this evolution of the Philadelphia 76ers, and Brett Brown's got to go, and Bill Simmons and a couple of other. I just think that's absolute horseshit. I still think he's a great coach. I think he's done very well to integrate Jimmy Butler, who's a completely different player to anyone that the Browns had over the last 4 seasons. I think the calls for Brett Brown's head are the worst thing to come out of all of this.
I agree. And you know what the sad thing is, Benson? It takes these young guys like Embiid when they get to their 29, 30 age that they realise, hey, it is all about winning and not my numbers. They all did it. And the last one I can think of who came out probably a couple of years ago when he had that interview with Kobe was Shaq. Yeah. When I got to Miami, I realised, it was about winning, not my numbers. I wish I'd known that 10 years ago. Yeah. Would have won a lot more. Like, fuck, they just don't learn. And I agree with everything he said. It's more about, it shows he's more about Joel than anything else.
Yeah, I think we're all echoing the same thing as well. I mean, they're 19-9 on the year. They're third in the Eastern Conference. They're on 8-2 in their last 10. The thing with Brett Brown is rare too, because you rarely see a coach go through both sides of it. You rarely see a coach last through a rebuild and into success. Yep. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we've seen with Brown. And I'm sure if push came to shove, I know media's playing this up. And to Embiid's defense a little bit, he did come out and say that this has all been blown out of proportion, blah, 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 blah. It was more of a frustration with himself. But I think it does still highlight some stuff. I think the push come to shove, the players would back Brown 100%. I don't think there's any question. That's just because of the type of coach he is. I will say that...
I agree.
Yeah, I will say that, look, the thing that it highlights to me the most is that, everything smells like roses when there's no pressure on you. When there's no expectation. And after last season and obviously Simmons' breakout year, there's now expectation behind Philly. The other thing is too, we've sort of all sort of said it, and it's like they're not going to win anything if they don't learn to sacrifice. If they don't learn to sacrifice, and this goes for everyone on their squad. No championship team goes for a year without sacrifice. You look at Golden State. You look You look at Dallas. You look at all these teams that have won chips. Like, all those guys have had to sacrifice. Look at the big three in Miami. Like, all those guys had to sacrifice shots, touches, a stat line. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing for Philly to overcome right now, because they're all so young. You know, they're going to win games, but, you know, when it comes push comes to shove, you know, in a playoff series, are they going to do what it takes to sacrifice their own personal gains for the better of the team? Because that's what's going to get the wins. You know, well, the wins that matter anyway, the wins that count.
Yeah, well, I think they'll be fine. I think they just need to, you know, it's almost the media looking for something in a situation which has gone pretty good. The same thing as you said as well. I mean, look, Embiid's come out and squashed it. It was a frustration comment. It was sort of, you know, heat of the moment kind of thing. And if you do listen to it, and in the context of the questions that the reporters were asking, a lot of it is self-deprecating. He is talking about himself, and he is being down on himself for being out of position and up too high, and, you know, setting himself up around the three-point line a lot of the time on offensive sets and things like that. He's not necessarily saying that that's a coaching thing. He kind of is trying to wear it himself, and the reporters are almost implying that it's a coaching thing. Yeah. So I think it's a bit of a mountain out of a molehill, and these guys are well on pace to go deep into the playoffs. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Hey, Vince. What about now? What about now
what?
Is Luka good enough to get the Dallas Mavericks to the playoff, my friend? What about now?
Look, he's let me check the stand. I know they're 14-10.
14-11. They're 8th seed right now. 7-3 in their last 10. And I'm sure, Stu, you're about to mention the game from the other day.
Well, yeah. I mean, did you see the 11-point streak?
Fuck, man. Woo. You know what you don't do if you're James Harden? You don't trash talk Luka. You don't trash talk him. You don't ignite a future star of the league and give him motivation. And you definitely don't give him fuel to go on 11-point streak of his own in the fourth and carry them past the Houston Rockets. That's what you don't do.
Man, I was sitting at home with the kids watching that game, because that game started really late.
Yeah.
And so I've got to pick up the kids from school, and they're watching, and they're starting to get into basketball a little bit. And my eldest two, Georgia and Charlie, were just like, look, and they were screaming. Like, it was just hype. Like, it was awesome. Like, he just hit this switch. He did a really stupid foul on Capella. He came late on a double team, and that sort of, he just switched on after that. He was like, shit, I just cost my team 2 points at the stripe, and then went 11-0, and
so
it was
good.
God, it was sick to watch.
I love his little cross and step back. Oh my goodness, gets himself so much space. He's just. So Vince, I got to ask you the question. I've asked you. I've been almost weekly.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
You're in?
Do you know why? Because I just saw that pitiful Portland team just a game ahead of them. So, I'd love nothing more than for them to leapfrog. So yeah, I'm going to say yes. Barring injury, maybe they'll get there because of Luka.
And now they've got Dirk back as well. So Dirk's back, and man.
Oh, is he?
Yep.
Oh, yes, sir.
They won again today, I think. Actually, who did they play today?
Oh, yeah, they did win today.
Orlando. They beat Orlando.
I don't think they're going to the playoffs.
You don't? You still don't?
No.
All right.
How good is it going to be watching Luka get Dirk some quality shots?
Vince?
All Dirk's got to do is get open.
Next week, Vince, I'm going to ask Stu the same question next week.
I'm with you, Wayno.
Yeah, thank you.
Playoffs, baby.
There's still enough time. Utah are in 13th, Houston are in 14th, Pels are in 10th. No, and Memphis are going to drop like a.
What are you talking about, mate? Look, at one stage this year, we were leading the West.
Yeah, I know. You see, how many times did you screenshot that?
It's my phone saver.
Lakers are 2 games clear of Memphis.
That's all right. We're just pacing it, baby. We're pacing.
It's a marathon, baby. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
It's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Old mates down in Oklahoma are going right.
They'll fold.
Yeah. You know what? Credit to Paul George.
Nah, stuff Paul George.
Yeah, no, Paul George is dead to us, mate.
Oh, that's right.
You refuse to come to the greatest franchise in the history of the NBA.
Scorned Laker fans. Say no more.
We're not scorned.
We don't need him.
We're winning. We're winning, and you watch the run that's coming, mate. It's coming.
Look, how about Joakim Noah back in the league?
You know what? Really stoked for him.
Yeah, me too.
Just playing, doing a good role, doing a good job.
This is the best bench we've had in years. This is
who I really love? I watched the Grizz and Lakers when we spanked him by about 20.
Yeah.
I freaking love JaMychal Green.
Oh, so good.
Hell yeah.
You know what really annoys me in the NBA today? When the post-up defense is non-existent. Like, no one plays post-up D anymore. Oh, they're there, but they're just letting you go. Not JaMychal Green. He makes you work. Like, he plays some really good D on Qs.
He's so good. It's better in this system, him coming off the bench. Yeah, he can. You don't have to run anything for him, and he's too hard a worker not to be a factor. So I think today he had a double today. Even I think we copped a loss, but
yeah, he did.
But
13 and 10. Speaking of which, let's go to my Marshawn Brooks weekly segment.
Do it.
Damn, do we have to?
Do it.
Marshawn Brooks, Wayne's because I'm doing this because Wayne was very excited about Marshawn Brooks. He actually said, we've got Marshawn Brooks. Like he averages
productive, bro. Productive.
6 minutes.
Yep.
8 points.
Hey. 7 minutes. 7 minutes, buddy.
It says 6 here in the NBA app.
8 points.
Very, very efficient 4 from 4 from the field.
Yeah.
Look, if he doesn't make an all-star team on that alone, there's something wrong.
I'll tell you what, it was good to see Marshawn Brooks turn up. It's a pity some of that work didn't rub off on Marc Gasol. Who just take nights off. Like, just fucking... Come on.
He's taking every second night off. There's a pattern.
Jesus Christ. A big manly 2 rebounds for him all game today. 2 rebounds. 7 points, 2 rebounds.
Here it comes. Watch out!